But if you really ask me what it is that's really unique about Sri Lanka, I would say it's people. You ask anyone who's been to Sri Lanka, and it's the warmth of the people, the connections you make, the relationships you establish, and I think that's what's so important about tourism.
It's a good way to start. And Prime Minister, thank you very much. We're very honored to have you here with us. Before we open the conversation, I would just like to ask you, first of all, the title of this session is Tourism and Connecting People and Countries, Still a Way for Diplomacy. But I wonder, is that a tad naive, or is it still possible to connect people, prevent perhaps conflict through the shared experience of tourism?
Oh, I think it's entirely possible. We've experienced that in Sri Lanka for ourselves, that the people-to-people connections that tourism enables is one of the main factors that has enriched our relationships and strengthened diplomacy throughout with the countries that we engage with. And I think this was best experienced post cyclone Ditwa, which hit us in November. Just prior to the height of our tourist season. December is our peak month. But during that time, we made an appeal to the international community. We spoke to our diplomatic corps, and we said, please don't cancel on us. Please keep to your plans and come to Sri Lanka. And people did. People responded, and we were able to record the highest number of arrivals in our history in December, a few days, weeks after the cyclone. And I think that sent out such a strong message of solidarity, a strong sense of optimism that we were recovering, and the resilience of our people. So again, all of those factors are extremely important and part of our diplomatic engagement. So we are a prime example of how that works.
Working. And of course, you said if tourists had none showed up, that would have made the situation much worse, of course, because there's entire lives and industries that depend on it.
Yes.
In your country too. But I wonder, that is for the solidarity of people and the tourists, and of course, the experience that they built around countries. We know that maybe someone who's visited once, but that emotion in being in Sri Lanka led to something that stuck and resonated with them, they're likely to go back. So it's a lot very much about the experience on the ground. But I wonder, since this is Davos and just perhaps a more of a political question, when you hear the optimism in this room, still saying industry is a positive story that still tells a story of connection, but you walk down there and you hear the world is heading into a path of conflict, potentially more tariffs. There's a war, I count at least 3 active, more or less. Is that compatible?
Well, that's the way of the world. That is the reality that we have to deal with. And I think we still need to look for stories of hope, stories of recovery, stories of resilience, and you find that throughout the world. And I would like to think Sri Lanka is one of those stories. So instead of always, focusing on where the conflict is, I think we can also focus on where there are, moments of recovery, moments of hope, moments of real resilience shown by people and communities, and invest in those stories and invest in those parts of the world as well. So maybe shift the narrative, right? And I think we are offering an experience that can shift that narrative. And I think shifting that narrative is also important because that is also part of the story of the world.
Well, thank you, Prime Minister. And now, also, of course, give you at this point, really a platform, because sometimes we hear about Sri Lanka, but it comes from sort of the experience of someone who went there, and it's their own take on the country. It's very difficult to define a country in just a few words and a few sentences. But, given that we're here in Davos, and the great thing about Davos is that you get to be in 30 different countries in a week because you get to have all of these meetings that normally you'd have to travel for, and now they're all concentrated here. So what is the image beyond the pitch, because that's seems to me too reductionist. What is the narrative that you come here and you explain about your country, in particular with the sector?
Well, my fellow panelists talked about tourism as an experience now, and I think Sri Lanka really offers a unique experience because, yes, we have culture, we have heritage, we have great food, we have history, we have wildlife, we have beaches, all packed into 1,000 square meters. So within a day, you can sort of experience all of these different aspects of Sri Lanka. But if you really ask me what it is that's really unique about Sri Lanka, I would say it's people. You ask anyone who's been to Sri Lanka, and it's the warmth of the people, the connections you make, the relationships you establish, and I think that's what's so important about tourism and tourism today in this very unstable, chaotic context, where tourism can be that bridge, can build those human relationships and those people-to-people connections that bring a little bit of sense of sanity amidst all of this chaos. And I think Sri Lanka, the connections you make in Sri Lanka will really be meaningful in that sense.
So it's a society, you would say, that is still open to the world. And this seems a cliche, but it's not, because at this point in time, there are clear countries, and I don't want to name names because that's not the point, that are really retrenching, that I'm saying we go first.
Yeah.
Then the rest, it's an open conversation. So would you say maybe perhaps that is also what they can find, a society that is still open to making these connections?
Open to making those connections. I think the way we welcome people, the word that we use, Ayubowan itself, right? It's about may you live long, have a long life, right? And I think that sentiment is what we've been known throughout history for. And I think that's what makes Sri Lanka special and unique. And yes, at a time when others are retrenching or being very protectionist or being very exclusivist in who they welcome and who they don't, Sri Lanka is actually one of the countries in Asia where everyone is welcome. Even warring partners can meet in Sri Lanka.
And just Prime Ministers, I know you have to go. Just a final question. Of course, it's Davos, so we have to talk about business too. For an investor, for foreign money, cash that is willing or would be happy to put it to work in your country, what can they expect in terms of authorities, in terms of a willingness to give permits, to work together, to give access to public tenders, to constructions, workforce? What can they expect?
Well, we are looking to build that infrastructure, the infrastructure that is welcoming towards investors, one that's transparent, accountable. But I must say that we're looking for investors who are interested in a long-term investment, in an investment that will ensure a resilient economy, a resilient tourism sector, one that's green, one that's climate-friendly, and one that's also inclusive. Right? So that's the vision that we have for our tourism sector, one that will actually contribute to fixing some of the more structural problems in our country as well, right? And where our overall, and fits in with our overall economic and development vision for a more inclusive, climate-friendly country. And that's the kind of investment we look for even within in the tourism sector.
Thank you very much. And now, for your time.
Thank you.
Highly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank